So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your time in history, right? So you haven't really been in the community a whole lot in the last couple of years, but you were there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, so what made you want to start with Pokemon Snap?
Uh, if I could remember that. Let's see. I was doing New Super Mario Bros. Wii back then. So I think what happened was I think it was just like I was doing a speed races and speedruns live and someone's like, "We should do Pokemon Snap." And it was just like, "Okay, I think I have it." So we pulled it out for the N64 and a couple of us did like a race, that very first one. And it was just like a mosh pit of game crashes and stuff like that because some people tried to do it on the emulator and Snap does not work on emulator at all. So it just came out to like, oh, that was actually pretty fun. I love this game. I miss playing it. So I just kind of did a couple of things and I looked up whoever was the speedrunner of that time. I can't even remember their name.
It's probably Gia.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It was a really short name. It just remember seeing that and it's like, this is all I did, and it was like, the game's on rails, so you have to look forward and try and avoid like these sections. And then over time we just found out like there's so much lag. Just keep looking up, look down unless you're taking a picture. So it was just like, oh, I think it was a race that just got me to say, hey, why not play this? And that started the insanity.
So I want to ask about lag reduction. Your first couple runs didn't do lag reduction, but do you remember how that was found out or how that was sort of
From
discovered?
what I remember, all of us knew that there were spots you had to do lag reduction. Like there were a couple. I remember the tunnel and the cave, especially. So even the really early runs should have us looking like down at that. Maybe not in a race, because like I said, I think I started in the race and I had no clue what was going on. But we did know that you lag super hard in the tunnel and in the cave. So we tried to avoid it there. And then it was probably just someone on Speed Demo's archive. That chat might still be there from long ago doing Pokemon Snap, but it was just, oh, by the way, there's lag everywhere in this game. So if you're not taking a picture, try and not look at anything and it won't render and then it'll go faster. So that was basically how it came along, was just, oh guys, try not to look at the stuff. So it became, we were just looking for like these tiny little visual cues, like maybe a cloud floated by and it's like, okay, you count to 2 and then look down or something like that. And that's just how we kind of figured out, you know, look looking up was faster too, because I think we did like tests where stare at the ground and go through all of beach and then stare at the sky, and somehow sky came out like 3 seconds faster or something. So it was like, just look up. And then in certain parts, it's like, okay, well, we found out looking down. It just slowly over time, we figured out these little, like, looking down's better in this section, looking up's better in this section. Or you have a billion pictures to take, just try and hide. Yeah. So it was kind of like that. Just pay attention to your surroundings, I guess.
I gotcha. Okay. Um, I noticed that you started doing lag reduction after someone named Shredwatt um, beat your world record. Do you remember anything about Shredwatt?
No, I can't say I do. I don't. I remember a lot of names or a lot of people like beating me, but I think the only time I remember like specifically going for the record was when me and Spark started getting really serious. So all the names I remember, Oxwas did a lot of races. I'm sure Shredwatt did a lot of races, but I can't remember all of the people that contributed. It's been
Okay.
a long time.
I'll have to look into Oxwas because I don't think there's any videos from them around still. Shredwatt still has videos from back in the day,
Yeah.
but
I'm pretty sure Ox was. I know he did Paper Mario. I'm pretty sure he did some races. I'm not sure if he actually did any full on speed runs.
all right. Okay. So, you're like the first 100% run that I've found. Your runs back then. Did you come up with the category, or did were you the first person to record it?
I think someone else came up with the category. I don't think it was put anywhere. Like, I'm sure there were people that had run it and like had times. I can't remember anyone. Gia might have been one, but it was pretty much, even back then, it was known as, if you do 100%, you're just adding more RNG into this game, and you're making your life miserable. Because a lot of runs would end when trying to get that Arcanine. It would just, oh no, I got a Growlithe, or you completely miss because the hitbox is kind of weird on those craters. So it's just, no one really wanted to until we started getting like a couple of people that wanted to do races. And back then, a lot of people didn't care, any percent, 100%. A lot of people actually liked 100% because it kind of pushed us back a little bit because of the RNG. So we couldn't, like, when we did any percent, me and Spark had a bunch of backup strategies. Like, Cloyster doesn't show up, who cares? Versus 100%, if Arcanine doesn't show up, the only thing you have is you take the extra, what is it, a minute and a half, 2-minute hit to get back through the course.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's kind of like an equalizer. Like, even if you're a good runner and you miss Arcanine, it's still a big time loss.
Yeah, I think Spark actually, for a while there, had one of his records. He had to go through Volcano twice or 3 times, and that was his record. So he's like, I have a 3-minute time save right here. Even if some of the splits are red, don't worry.
That's pretty bad. But yeah, that's Hundo for you.
Yeah.
I was actually just playing Hundo last night, and I PB'd. And the run after that, I got Hundoed twice in a row. I got 3 Arcanines, restarted, got 3 Growliths. So I'm like, well...
I think I actually have
Thanks,
more problem
game.
with the Growlithe than the Arcanines, too.
Yeah, the Arcanine is more rare, because I think it's like a 25% chance to get an Arcanine. So that means I got a 1 in 4 chance 3 times, which I think is what, 1 in 64 or something?
Yeah, no, I would get the... I remember getting...
It's a very rare
Arcanine
chance.
and never getting Growlithe. But I think I also spent, if you look at my runs, I probably also spent a lot of time missing those craters. I had like 1 that I had to set up for, and then the other 2 were just whether I was good or not.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I just kind of flail mindlessly until I get to it.
I had my great setup. I was looking in the sky anyway. I just throw the pester balls.
Perfect. So, speaking of categories, so a lot of times I was looking at some of the races, some of the race categories there, and there were some very strange categories that came up. Like, I think 70K was a speed run. There was a Pikachu Album speed run.
I remember that one.
Were there any other weird categories that kind of just popped up that didn't catch on?
So I'm sure that a lot of those categories were just like the point total ones. I think were just like, can you get this many points and how fast can you get it? Because back then we spent a lot of time trying to find good pitchers that could be done quickly. It was like the beach was a really obnoxious spot for us, especially very early on. So we found a lot of areas like, oh, you could get this pitcher and you could set it up this way every time. And it, over time, we just kind of worked on those. So that was probably just us kind of like trying to stay sane. And I'm sure it was easier on new players, like just go for a score rather than trying to complete the game. Because some people like couldn't figure out some of the stuff, so we'd have to coach them in the middle of the race in the race lobby, saying, "Oh, you're to get out of like river, you have to hit the Porygon with the Pester Ball. It's hiding in the wall over there. So look for that switch. Look for the little part of the wall that's moving and throw a Pester Ball at it." So for a lot of new people, it was just really easy to say, "Let's just go for points." And then the Pikachu album was my brainchild.
Nice.
So there's I believe 6 special Pikachu. Like I forget what they are. They're just the special
That sounds
Pikachu
right.
mentions.
Surfing Pikachu. There's a Shocking Pikachu on the ball.
Balloon Pikachu.
Balloon.
Pikachu on ball. There's about 6 of them. So it was a joke category. It's basically you do any percent until you get the flute, and then you go around and you get all these Pikachus. And it was just a fun little thing to do. Like I said, a lot of it was just us trying to find weird ways through the game. And any time you were trying to go for speed, it's just like, let's have fun with this. So that was just one that I found fun. Was you have to get all 6 pictures of Pikachu in the album, stick them in the album. You couldn't just like say, "Oh, I got him, I promise." You had to put them in the album and then show
Right.
the album to end the run.
Can I tell you, we have a meme category that is the same thing except it's Magikarps.
Magikarp percent? Is that what this is?
Yep. The object is to get 6 Magikarp pictures in the album, or 1 from every stage, because it goes in every stage, right?
Oh, cool.
It's the only Pokemon that's available in all 6 stages. So
Yeah.
it's essentially a run through cave, and then as soon as you get into Valley, you can get the one that's jumping where you knock it in and it goes to Gyarados. You can get that one like at the very beginning, put that in the album, and then boot it, and then you're done. So it's a little faster. And we actually don't get Cloyster because or we don't need Cloyster because we go for Charizard because there's the Magikarp is right there in the pool of water at the very end.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's kind of a fun little different category because it's a little less stressful.
And fun categories like that kind of break up the monotony.
Yeah, because 80% and 100% are like the same thing for most of the part. So it's like you get kind of tired of running the same category over and over.
Yeah, I know. You finally get a good run through 100%, and then you're sitting there like, should I be taking the 80% route? I'm actually doing better than I normally do.
Yeah,
I've had many of those. I'm sure Spark did too.
It's a weird philosophy that some people are like, you know what, this is a really good run, I'm just going to do 80% instead. Or you know what, this is kind of a bad 80% run, I'm just going to do 100% instead.
Yep. I remember. It was like that back then. It was pretty much, I'm on pace for a new PB and 80%. Do I really want to waste it on RNG?
Yeah. I got you, man.
Yeah.
So you, go ahead.
No, I just said that hasn't changed.
Yeah. So you were one of the first VC runners, but you eventually changed N64. Was there anything that specifically happened that made you want to change, or did you just decide to do it?
I honestly can't remember. I think it was probably just we found out that N64 was a little faster, or we thought it was maybe.
It is faster, but you're right.
Yeah, so we just kind of all adopted it.
Okay.
So it was just, I had the ability to hook it up. I just used VC because I think at the time, my only copy of Ocarina of Time was on the VC. So we would also play Saturday Night Bingos.
I gotcha. So you instead of switching back and forth all the time, just stick.
But when I actually started speedrunning the game, it's like, well, N64 is faster. So we kind of took that up.
Did you ever stay in contact with a high score community of Pokemon Snap?
I remember I did one. It was like WeVC or something like that. It was a point total one. So yeah, I did do that for a while.
Well, I guess what I meant was so there's 2 major communities for Pokemon Snap. There is the speedrunning community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the high score community, which is mostly done on I think it's cyberscore.uk.me or something. But it's another website where they only track high score stuff. They don't really track speedruns or whatever. But people will upload pictures of all their scores, and it's a whole separate community, right? It's people who just grind out like single pictures.
I can honestly say I've never been a part of that one. I did do a score community, but I don't think it was that one. Okay.
One of the reasons I was asking is because there's a very few people who go in between. But they have very interesting strategies for points and pictures and stuff. And one of the major ones that's a link is a guy named Alex Penev, who is apparently a really famous speedrunner that I wasn't really aware of until recently. But he has a lot of knowledge on like the early days of speedrunning, and he was the one who told us about the high score community was the one who found a lot of the kart mechanic stuff. Like they realize you can drift left and right, or that you go faster if you look forward or backwards, that you can lock it in with your camera, that kind of stuff. So I was wondering if you had any contact with them, but it looks like apparently somebody brought it over to speedrunning and then it just got lost.
Yeah, like I said, I think you said it was probably Gia. By that time, we actually knew of all that stuff, so if they brought it over, then they did so before I started doing it.
Yeah, that was, I think Geo was around it was 10 years ago, so 2008. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Oh man, it's been so long.
I know it's been a while. It's been with the earliest Pokemon Snap speedrun that's been recorded is now 10 years old, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So, your times on the leaderboard extend from about 29 minutes to a 25-22. Were there anything that was like a major change that you could think of, or was it just personal improvement over small things here and there?
A lot of our changes, I don't remember anything super major. I know some of the stuff that was on the video we had actually known. So I'm not sure if those guys were just the ones that standardized it. But a lot of the stuff we did, like me and Spark, where we kind of tried to get rid of some of the random elements.
Okay.
Like you did bring up in the video I remember watching, the Butterfree, I found out that it's on a track pattern. And it takes like one of, I believe, 3 options. And for most of those, you could actually get a decent picture of Butterfree. And then another one was a Meowth. We used to take a picture of Meowth, and sometimes the Meowth we took was either too big or too small, or Oak just didn't like it because Oak is Oak. And we actually found, because at that time we were still getting the Eevee and Chansey, that there was a Meowth coming out of a bush that you could get, I think it was 3,800 points every time. So rather than go for the randomized one, we could get that one, have a standardized score. And it just became that way where we find these tiny little improvements and then say, oh, we could cut out this. Like, I remember we used to try and get the triple Lapras because, oh, we need all these points. And it was like, well, we don't need these points anymore. Just take one picture of Lapras and kind of line it all up like this. And it turned out to be faster, and then we just shaved it off. So it was a lot of little things that we kept finding and saying, oh, well, now we don't need this, and that takes off like 5 seconds, 10 seconds here. And I'm sure it's a lot of improvement. Like, I remember the Mew fight. Some of my early ones were probably terrible.
I don't know if I watched the 2 earlier ones, but I have been told that they were comically bad.
Yes, a lot of the Mew fights.
I think you lost like 2 minutes on one of the fights.
A lot
of still made a world record.
A lot of our issues. So the problem with that one was just getting to that point. It didn't happen a lot, and then you were like super stressed. You're like, I have to have a good Mew fight. And it would just be like, there goes the run. Really early on, when me and Spark actually both started really trying, we'd have days where getting out of beach was just impossible. And that's actually what inspired us to kind of find these point values. And it was just getting out of beach. I think we had one night where both of us streamed for like 2 or 3 hours, and we got one run between the two of us that made it past beach on an acceptable run. So that's 6 hours where we got one run out of this first like 5-minute level.
Can I tell you that it is so crazy to hear the similarities between then and now, because we still have runners nowadays who can never get out of beach. Like, they're perfectionists, and they'll stream for like hours and they'll barely get out of beach.
Oh man, I was hoping that's actually what the Butterfree and the Meowth lineup were, to try and eliminate that RNG. I'm sad that we've gone back to this.
Well, one of the reasons why we have gone back to this is because we've changed our strategies a bit.
I saw the Pikachu.
Yeah, so 2 things, or a couple of things actually. So there's actually a way to get a picture of Pidgey at the very start that counts as 4,000 instead of like 3,200.
Oh, nice.
So for some reason we never noticed. You can take the 3 pictures at the start, and then if you hold right on the C-stick, you can just keep looking right, and you'll follow that last Pidgey a little farther, and it's like perfectly in frame for a max point picture.
Oh, nice.
And it's stupid easy. Like, all you do is hold right. It's really easy. And so we found that out, and that was a big deal. We get Beach Pikachu. We can get about 3,000 points there. So we skip getting the Ball Pikachu. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of all down to Lapras. If we get a good Butterfree. If we get a good Butterfree, then we can come out of beach with 22,500 points, and then we can get the fastest electrode, which is like 1,500. And so doing that saves like another 10 seconds from Ball Pikachu.
Oh, nice.
So one of the reasons why we're so hard to get out of beach now is because, again, we've cut out some of the points needed to continue, but that just means it's harder to get out of beach. So
Yeah.
it's still, beach is still hard to get out of. So that's funny.
Yeah. Well, there goes that work. I remember that one being, that was our big thing, was we wanted runs to get out of beach, because sitting there for 3 hours watching me fail another pitcher of Butterfree or Lapras, not because we relied on having 2 Laprases in the pitcher. And if you've ever tried to get that third Lapras to spawn, you've dealt with that before. It's never wants to work. So we had a lot of runs fail because either the back 2 spawned or you were like 100 points off, and it's like, okay, I could get this many points, but it's going to add a bunch of time. So we wanted to, I know you could do better than this on this, score, because back then I think Poliwag was a actual factor. Like, there were a lot of runs I remember where, okay, I need to get a 100-point Poliwag versus a 60-point Poliwag, or the run's over. So it's like, if you have a really tight beach, you're gonna die at the Poliwag if you mess up any pitchers.
It's crazy to think you guys were super optimized. We've improved that a lot, but yeah, it's still pretty tight.
Yeah, most of the time it wasn't that bad, but there were several runs where it would hit the point where it's like, I need to actually get a real pitcher here.
I gotcha. So, you talk about Spark a lot. Can you tell me more about Spark, maybe? So, how did he join, and how did he kind of come into the community?
I just remember he showed up in a race and he enjoyed the game. So back then it was a lot of me. I think there were a couple of other people that were a part of it. But he came to me and said, "Hey, I'm learning this game. What do you know about it?" And it's like, here's what I know. Both of us started we would do races together a lot. I'm sure out of all
the
my
record
races,
shows,
yeah, I'm sure all of my races, he's in like a good 80%, if not more. And it was just, we started doing that. We started doing streams together. Like, I'd put on my stream, I'm streaming with Spark, go watch his channel too. Or he's put down, I'm streaming with RaikerZ, go watch him. And some nights it just became Spark's out of beach, go watch that. I'm not really paying attention to my runs anymore.
Right.
Because if he's going to set a record, I want to see this. So it was just a lot of that. We kind of started doing races a lot, and then kind of bounced ideas off of each other to try and get out of these zones. So it was just, we played a lot together. I think me, him, and Doisum also did Saturday night bingos a lot.
Oh, yeah. We need to get back to the bingos again. As a community, I think we all like the bingo, but we just never play.
Yeah,
but the bingo is so much fun. I wish we did like a regular bingo, but
yeah, I started working Sunday, like super early mornings, so I was not good enough at bingos to do a Saturday night bingo and then get to sleep for work the next morning. Sad to hear it's gone though. That was always a really fun part. I think that also helped the speedrunning community a lot too, because no one really cared how good you were at bingos. Just go have fun.
Right. Okay, I got you. So, I guess you said you started working in the mornings and stuff. What you eventually put Pokemon Snap down? Was there any reason for that, or you just kind of moved on?
Let's see. Pokemon Snap, I think the reason why I stopped doing that, I got a couple of times. I remember actually liking, I think it was my 100%, not my any percent. I think I really liked that run. I thought it was a really good one, so I kind of put it down. And in the end, like I said, I started working a lot. I think at one point I had like 60+ hour weeks, and then I would come home to stream, and half of my streams were like, I'm resetting 24/7, and it's like, okay, this is just starting to feel more like work. And so I just started like putting it down and watching Spark, and then watching others like Worcester. I think Siglemic was still on Super Mario 64 back then, so it was like, okay, I'm just gonna go watch these guys play, and I just ended up like kind of phasing myself out after a time. But it just got to be like, I was working 6 days, if not 7 days a week, and then I didn't want to come home and, okay, I need to put in like 3 hours in this game, because if not, I'm never gonna be able to keep up with what I've been doing.
Yeah, it's like another shift.
Get
off work and then just clock in for the snap grind.
Yeah, and it became like that. It got really kind of like your morale would die, because it's like, okay, like Cloyster wouldn't show up in a run, or I made a really silly mistake. I think I had one run that was actually on pace for 25 minutes, like under 25 minutes, and I threw it at mute, and it's like I was doing really good and everything. And it's just like, and I missed every single apple I threw at Mew, and I'm like, okay, I need to take a break. And that break ended up being about 5 years.
Yeah. Would you ever think about coming back to it? Not to pressure you or anything. I think I talked about it earlier in your chat.
Yeah, you did. But... I think my answer's still the same. Right now, I don't really have any plans. I play games competitively, as you noticed on my stream, and I do kind of like, whenever I play a game, I still look at it like a speedrun, because it's like, well, how could I cut time here? How could I go faster here? And all that. If I ever do go back to competitive, I'm sure Pokemon Snap, at least as a relaxing, let's just have some fun game, would definitely come up. But as for speedrunning, right now, all of my consoles are kind of in storage. I only really play on the PS4, and I don't have a Switch, so I can't play the new one that's coming out. But if I ever get one and I ever have the option to play, I'm sure I'd end up at least playing Pokemon Snap and trying a run. How well that run goes is a completely separate issue.
Yeah.
But
you'll be very rusty.
Yeah, right now I have no intention, but I mean, I do enjoy the game.
Yeah, it's not off the table. It's just not on the table.
Unlike Paper Mario, where I got speedrunning made me fed up with the game, Pokemon Snap never really got that way.
Yeah. I specifically have like a rotation of games, so that if I ever get fed up with one game and I don't want to like hate it for the rest of my life, I always put it down. Because there's some people who can just grind out one game for like every day for like a year. You see like Clint Stevens doing 100%, or ZFG doing 100% for that matter, for years. Yeah. I don't think I could do that. As much as I love Pokemon Snap, and I always come back to it every year, like it just every once in a while, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put it down for like 3 months.
I don't think Pokemon Snap's long enough for you to want to do that for 3 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been running it for over 3 years now. I started in like 2015, and I've been consistently running it, every year.
Yeah, at least
for that long.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? But okay, I think that's all the questions I have for you. It's been a really nice chat having with you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for inviting me. Hopefully your runs start picking up. You get that world record. I'll keep an eye on it.
I'm still aiming for sub 21 any %. I'm only 6 seconds away.
You're aiming for sub 21, and we thought sub 22 would never happen.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. It's crazy to think because like Spark got a 2214 on English, and I guess that was before you guys knew about Japanese, right?
We actually knew that there was a spot that Japanese was faster, but there was also that little lag after. I think it was after each photo. Like if you got a wonderful, there's like this little tiny lag. So the test we ran, actually, we found that it was a bit slower. But I guess the text over game, we must have missed something, because Oxwas was a Japanese runner, so he had the Japanese cartridge and managed to he managed to give us numbers and everything. Like, this is how many text boxes appear, this is how fast they go through. So we managed to compare it to English, and then we compared how long a picture would take, multiplied that by like 46 or 50 or something like that for the amount of pictures that showed up. And we're like, so Japanese is faster in this area by like 5 seconds, but slower by the overall pictures by like a second. So we thought they were pretty much even, and there was no real need to get a Japanese cartridge. And I actually have one with me. So I was actually preparing to run more detailed tests before I stopped.
Yeah. If you want, I'll show it to you. I did the work, right? I put in the effort, because I've always been told, like, oh, Japanese is faster by, like, 20 seconds or so. And I'm like, what, like, how much? Why? Like, what parts is it? And doing tests, you're right. In the English version, they had an optimization where they found a way to clear text faster. So that's why the oak points go a lot faster. As every one is like faster by several frames. But the other problem is that because there's more letters, it has to put out more letters, and that takes a little longer for the text boxes. But the big deal that people didn't think about was every time you come back to the lab, Oak goes, "Welcome back." And that voice line, you have to wait for the voice line to be over before the text will start moving. So the text is not actionable for a full second longer than it is in Japanese, because in Japanese it's or whatever his noise is. So you lose 1 second every single time you go back to the lab.
Ooh.
So in signs, when you go back, like rapid fire, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're losing like 6 or 7 seconds for every single time. Or I mean, total for the whole split. So every part of the game is about even. The actual in-game parts and the levels is exactly similar. There's no frame difference. It's just the menu stuff. And so it's weird because English saves time here, but loses time here. Saves time here, loses time here. And it ends up that Japanese ends up saving about 20 seconds at the very end of the run.
That's good to know.
But since Quo is the world record holder in both English and Japanese, I went with both of his videos and I compared them side by side because he got them pretty close to each other. So I know he was about the same level of skill, and then I just kind of compared each part because I knew that he would be consistent enough across both versions to do a pretty good comparison. So
yeah,
but it's literally it's 20 seconds and 1 frame difference.
Dang.
That's what I've concluded.
Yeah. So that's pretty much like we thought that it was probably like a second faster in Japanese, but not like worth getting. But I had actually gotten it to test, and I never really. I think I was still kind of working on getting a good run in Japanese, and I kind of quit somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah, I gotcha.
That's good to know, though.
Yeah, we're putting in work. So if you ever do come back, we have plenty of resources, and we've been working hard on it.
Sounds like it's
gone. So yeah, we have some scientists, some Snap scientists on board who are doing tests and the stuff like that. So, well, all right, man. I don't want to keep you any longer. So, thank you so much for talking with us.
Oh, thank you for.